Hello and welcome to another lunar report with me, Manda O'Brien, and Astrology Mystica, astrology for mystics on the inner path to know who you are and to live in harmony with your nature. I'm also using True Sky, True Sidereal Astrology on this channel, which uses the natural sky exactly the way it is. You'll see when we get to the chart the uneven sizes of the constellations, and including the 13th constellation at the galactic center of Fucus. So welcome to 13 sign True Sky Astrology if you're new. And if you're expecting me to use tropical placements, you'll be aware of the fact that I'm saying things are in a different place than where tropical is saying they are, and that's because tropical is a man-made system and it doesn't use the natural sky exactly the way it is. So, in this report, I'm giving a lunar forecast for the new moon in Gemini that's coming up on July 14th. We've been in a very powerful astrological time since the full moon in Sagittarius on June 29th. And before this new moon occurs, we're in the last week of the lunar cycle that began with a new moon in Taurus. So over the last couple of months, we've really been working on our relationships and working on our values and coming to new realizations about what is essentially, intrinsically important to us as individuals, and especially also in the way that we relate to other people, allowing ourselves to be more authentic, to bring more of who we really are into the way that we relate to others and the way we relate to the world. And how we value ourselves ultimately is what it comes down to for me, is getting in contact over the last couple of months with these two new moons in Taurus. As we complete this week here before the new moon on July 14th, we may start to notice in this last week, which can be very introverted, the last week of the dark moon is what it's called, when there's the least amount of light, can be a great time to rest and recharge your battery, to go inside, to have the time and the space to reflect over the process that you've been in, specifically over the last few months, in terms of valuing yourself, your authenticity, and bringing that more into your practical, physical life. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for subscribing and listening and being curious. We also have some other things going on at the moment. Neptune just went retrograde, is stationing to go retrograde today on July 6th. And so he'll be retrograde for quite a number of months, and this is going to give us an opportunity to, again, come to some inner understanding with our connection to Source and what that is for us, and to see how far we've come over the last number of months in these various processes that the astrological energies have been supporting us in. And as we move towards this new moon, we have the opportunity to allow certain things to come to a completion, certain processes that we've been in to complete, to come to an end, so that this new energy can come in on July 14th with this new moon in Gemini. And a new moon in Gemini has a lot to do with our action in the world, in the marketplace, you could say, and also our awareness of what's happening in the mind. to me, Gemini, in a lot of ways, represents the mind that is created by society. Because if we were living out in nature the way animals are, we wouldn't need this kind of mind. We wouldn't need to translate everything into language, to verbalize everything. But because we live in a society with other people, we need to be able to use language to express ourselves, to communicate. This is part of being on this planet. And Gemini to me represents both the programming that we receive in the mind and also our potential to see that we are not the mind, that we can use the mind, and we have to use the mind in the world, but that we are not the mind. So to me, Gemini gives us the opportunity to really break some very deep identifications with the mind that we have had to learn to create in order to be in society. Because when we come in, we don't know who we are. And we have to have a sense of ourselves. And that seems to be the way the universe set it up. So we create this ego structure that is based on our experiences in the outer reality. And that ego structure serves as a temporary center in us, because everyone needs to have a sense of who they are. It's designed into us. But then at a certain point, we start to realize that these ideas in the mind that have come from outside of us, they don't go with what we sense and feel about who we are on the inside. And that's when the difficulties start to arise, that we can become a slave to these ideas in the mind. And Gemini to me also represents the left and right brain, the intuitive right brain that is connected to the invisible realms that comes from within us, and the rational left brain that's connected with the marketplace and the world and the mind and the communication and the verbalizing and the labeling. So this new moon to me is a new cycle of potential clarity and potential to break identifications with the mind and to see it for what it is, and to be in the process of cultivating through meditation, which is basically just witnessing, doing nothing, and just observing whatever's going on in the mind from the place of the witness, that you are the one observing what's going on in the mind. You're not the mind. And creating some distance, some space there between you and the mind, so that you can really get in touch with who you are, essentially. So this is a very powerful and beautiful new chapter on this astrological journey that we're all on, going through the zodiac. And there can be some really powerful moments of awakening to who you are in this cycle, because while this is going on, and I will get to the new moon chart here soon, but while this is going on, we have this basket formation that I spoke about. I have a video that I put out a week ago on that. That's happening all throughout July. And it's with the outer planets. And it's a very unique and unusual configuration of the planets, the way that they are making aspects to each other, that really supports the ability to stay with whatever process you're in your life, to stay with the challenges, to stay with learning. And that's also another theme of this Gemini new moon, is to really be open to learning from life. That whatever shows up in the moment, inside or outside, to come from a place of learning and looking at it as an opportunity to learn and having the willingness to learn from whatever situations are presenting themselves. Because we've had this position with Uranus and Mars over the last week. It's now starting to relax and ease up a bit. But since the beginning of July, Mars has been getting closer and closer to Uranus. And these two together can bring in some sudden disruptions in our practical world, because they're both in the Earth sign of Taurus. Can bring in sudden disruptions that are designed to wake us up in a way and to give us an opportunity to learn more about who we are, to see more deeply into ourselves, what we're carrying, and also to see if we're interpreting reality through the mind. Because if we're interpreting reality and what's happening through the mind, it's going to be problematic. We're going to take things personally. We're going to rationalize. We're going to judge. We're going to suppress. All the things that the mind does. Because the mind has no way to break out of what it thinks it knows. It's made of the past experiences, the past knowledge of others. And it has no relationship with the present moment experience. And this is something that we have the opportunity, with Mars going over Uranus, to see, to wake up to the ways in which we are ready to be liberated, you could say, from the mind. And this Gemini new moon is supporting this process by bringing in new information, new perceptions, new understandings about the difference between who we are and the mind. And that it's fine to have the mind, to use it, we need it. But we also need to be able to step back from it and turn it off, and not have this verbalizing aspect of the mind running when it's not needed, so that we can just be and just relax and enjoy life. So here we are at the new moon chart, the new moon in Gemini on July 14th. And I look at the new moon as a seed, that around the time of the new moon, we're planting seeds. And in this new moon cycle, we're planting seeds connected with Gemini. So connected with our curiosity, our adventurousness, because the opposite sign to Gemini is Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about the big picture, the world view. Gemini is very much about your local environment, your local marketplace, your rational, logical mind, whereas Sagittarius would be more the bigger picture, the global view, the cosmic view, and your cosmic mind, you could say, versus your small mind, which would be more Gemini, more to do with practicality and daily life. So there's a lot of new seeds being planted at this time around this polarity. And as we come into the new moon, as I was saying, we have Neptune has just gone retrograde. So there's a slowing down in terms of our inner spiritual process and some deeper contact available to us during this new moon. And the new moon being a seed, whatever energies are showing up in the first few days of the new moon, whatever you become aware of in yourself, whatever new information or opportunities or situations that present themselves. This will continue as a theme throughout this lunar month. And if we take a look here at the chart, we can see that the sun and the moon down there at the bottom of the chart are both at 23 degrees of Gemini. And Mercury has recently gone retrograde at the end of June, and it will be retrograde until around July 21st. So Mercury has recently gone over the moon and the sun, and it's continuing in its retrograde motion back through Gemini. So we may also find that this new seed that we're planting is connected with realizations or information or understandings that come from the past experience that may have come through over the past lunar month. And that energy that we're working with here with Mercury a lot of times has to do with completing. When Mercury goes retrograde, things will come up that are ready to be resolved, things from the past, situations related to Mercury. On the outer level, it could be to do with, communication issues, transportation, practical issues with our environment, with our daily life. On the inner level, it could be unresolved understanding, things we've been learning through Mercury and Gemini, because he's very strong here, that we may have realizations, we may remember things about our communication, about our inner process, that are relevant to the new seeds that we're planting during this new moon in Gemini. We have Jupiter there at 5 degrees of Cancer, and he's opposite to Pluto. This is part of this basket formation that I was speaking about. So there's an ongoing process here of bringing in more nurturing energy to ourselves, having a more compassionate perspective towards ourselves and also towards other people, and recognizing that with Pluto in opposition here, that part of the journey is allowing things to be revealed to us that are no longer serving us. Pluto brings to our conscious awareness things that we have suppressed, things that have been hidden. And in Capricorn, it can have a lot to do with society, morality, religion, organizations, governments. So being able to see hidden aspects of our relationship to that world, and how maybe we've been giving our power away to that reality, that man-made reality. Whereas Jupiter in Cancer has a lot to do with our sensitivity and our intuition and our natural connection to the earth as our mother that supplies us with everything we need. So we may find this is a very nice supportive energy, but it can also bring disruption to our home life, to our experience of being at home. And the opportunity here is to expand our capacity to respect our own sensitivity and the sensitivity of others, and to remember that during this process of this new moon, that a new level of sensitivity is coming in, and it's going to expand our capacity to be compassionate, to be nurturing, and also to receive that from others. As Pluto's breaking down these ideas in the unconscious and revealing things to us about ourselves that have been holding us back and that have been limiting us from honoring our natural intrinsic sensitivity and our intuition, and also our connection to life itself as being at home in the universe. Because sometimes it's very hard to feel at home in the world, the way the world is set up, because there's so much greed and manipulation and, the world that we live in today, the value system of the world we live in today does not value nature, does not value life in general. It's moving in the direction of going deeper into the mind, into the mental construct, which is a very limited, small aspect of life. And we can see this with technology, that there's a shift towards technology and away from nature. To me, this Jupiter-Pluto opposition is bringing our awareness to that. Do you want to live in harmony with your own nature, in harmony with nature itself, with the earth, with the beauty of the cosmos? Or do you want to suppress yourself so that you can fit into this man-made structure that has no connection to any of these things, that's completely based in the mind, in ideologies and man-made systems? So there's a lot of potential here with this new moon to really come into a much deeper alignment with your own true nature by breaking these identifications with religions, with organizations, with governments, with nations, with all of this stuff that exists in the outer world, but really has no relevance to our inner world as individuals, because that's the journey that only we can go on. So very transformational, this new moon cycle, and the potential to really disidentify ourselves and feel a lot freer in who we are, a lot lighter. And we have Uranus in this trine position to Pluto, just adding energy to this process. And then his sextile to Neptune in this basket formation, again, opening doors to deeper understanding, deeper insights into our connection to life. And with the sextile from Neptune to Pluto, again, bringing in a new foundation that comes from within, that comes from our own connection, that's not something that's dictated from the outside world. And we have Chiron here about to go retrograde at the end of July. It's coming to the last degree of Pisces. It's been there since about 2017. So this healing journey that we've been on over the last 9 years is coming to an end. There's a completion coming. And you can look back to about 2017 and take note maybe of what healing process started around that time. And we're completing that now. And this new moon is bringing in new information that's helping us complete this healing journey we've been on. But Chiron will be going retrograde in a month. And we're going to go back over the last phase of this healing journey we've been on, and probably get some very deep insights into what we were actually working with. Because during a long healing process, sometimes it's difficult to know really what is going on. So Chiron, being the ruler of Ophiuchus, the 13th sign at the galactic center, plays a very important role in being able to heal our connection with life itself through the body, so that we have a more harmonious relationship with the body, and also with our soul's connection to our body. It's a very deep process, and Chiron is completing a whole trip around the zodiac, a whole cycle of the zodiac at this time, right now, during this new moon, and heading into the beginning of August. When it goes retrograde, we'll have a chance to maybe get some deeper insights into our healing process and feel some completion starting to come in. As Chiron then, in the beginning of next year, will start a whole new cycle of the zodiac when he enters into the sign of Aries. So the other things I see here in the chart is there's a square here between Chiron and Jupiter. So some of the challenges that this new moon may be bringing in regards to our healing journey is it may be giving us an opportunity to see how we have not been compassionate to ourselves, and to see how we've been taking things personally that are not personal, that our perception is we're having an opportunity here to shift our perception, because Pisces is a very intuitive sign that's very connected with the invisible realms. And Jupiter here in Cancer is also a very sensitive place for Jupiter to be, and he is exalted here. So we may have some very deep intuitive insights into our healing process with this square, where we start to see that we've been learning something very important through our healing journey. And it has to do with honoring our sensitivity and the ways in which we haven't been honoring our sensitivity. We may see clearly, Jupiter may expand our vision, where we can really see how we haven't been honoring our own sensitivity or the sensitivity of others. And also may bring in more clarity around family dynamics and finding a way to be sensitive to ourselves and to our family members, even though we may see things and experience things in very different ways. This can be a learning opportunity to bring more harmony in these areas. So we have Venus down here. She has just crossed over the South Node. She's in Leo. And the week before this new moon, she will have been passing over the South Node, maybe bringing our awareness to issues from the past related to our love relationships, whether they be family or romantic, or even our relationship with our own past, bringing in maybe some reflections on ways in which we have loved in the past that are designed to support us in seeing where we're at now. Venus in Leo is very much about the heart and expressing the heart. It's very much about our connection to our own creativity and valuing our own creative contribution in life. It also has to do with sharing and being able to be in the spotlight, being able to be the center of attention, and to share our unique light, you could say, to shine our unique light. It has a lot of celebration to it. So this trip over the South Node could also bring our attention to beautiful things that have happened for us in the past. And there may be some aspect of them that will continue during this Venus cycle as we move forward. Maybe we're reclaiming some energies from the past connected to our hearts that still have value to us, that can still be of value to us moving forward. Maybe aspects of ourselves that we suppressed or forgot about or became disconnected from because of what we were going through at the time. These may resurface during this new moon to contribute to our ability to value ourselves in present time and to reclaim some of what we have cultivated in ourselves over the past that may have been forgotten. This may be a time of remembering deep areas in our heart and soul that are ready to return to us in some form as we continue moving forward. So all in all, this next phase of our tour through the zodiac and the lunar cycles has a lot to do with cultivating the clarity to know what is us and what is not, to be able to break identifications with the mind, with man-made ideas, with information that comes from outside, and to value with what we've been learning to resource our own inner world instead. That within us we contain everything we need, that we are already what we want to become, that we have a natural design, we have a potential, we have a destiny, and it's just about turning inward and bringing that light of our awareness inside to illuminate that this mysterious magical process of revelation can happen. And by being able to see that we're not the rational mind, and being able to gain a new level of mastery with the mind where we can use it, and it's a great thing and it's a beautiful thing when it's being used by us, and we can end this cycle of being used by it, of being overwhelmed by it, and continue our learning of how to step out of the mind and how to just be present, to be aware of the content, that we're not the content, no matter what the content, no matter what the mind is saying, no matter what the thoughts are saying, that's not who we are. We're the one observing it. And this can be very important when you're going through deep transformational experiences where repressed content from the past is coming up in order to be released and to be integrated. When you're on the journey of knowing who you are, there's no way to avoid repressed content. It has to be seen, it has to be felt. And the container that it needs to be held in is with the witnessing capacity fully functioning, where you are observing. And if you get lost in the content, to come back to the witnessing capacity, because that's what gives us the freedom to be present with the content and to allow it to dissolve and to integrate, so that we can experience more freedom and more of who we actually are, and not just these concepts in the mind. So it's a very powerful month, July. At the end of the month, we're going to have a full moon in Capricorn, and this will be the Guru Purnima full moon, which is the full moon of honoring all the enlightened ones who have come to shed light on the path. And I'll be doing a full moon report on that coming up later in the month. But just wishing you a really beautiful new moon in July to plant some seeds of new levels of understanding, new levels of freedom, new learning opportunities where you start to really see deeper into who you are individually and your unique destiny. And this can start to manifest during a Gemini cycle. It can start to come into the marketplace. What you've been working on in the last couple of months with the cycles of the new moon in Taurus, these new values, these new understandings and valuing of what you have to contribute and share can start to actually come into play in this new moon cycle, where you may find yourself having interesting conversations and making new connections and having new opportunities show up around sharing what your unique contribution is. But above and beyond, the most important thing to me in life is to enjoy the process and to trust the process that you're in and to cultivate deeper levels of love for who you are. So thanks so much for joining me, and I look forward to our next report on the full moon. But until then, sending out lots of love, lots of light, and magical energy to whoever's listening to this, wherever you are right now. Ciao for now.